Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and this is the start of a sort of reading vlog, but not really. I'm making this video because I kind of haphazardly, spontaneously decided to participate in the 1000 Doors Readathon. This is a readathon that's hosted by Emma, Tasmin and Meg. I'll leave the links to their channels down below, and it's a kind of a choose your own adventure readathon, and I hadn't heard of it until I saw the video for the very first prompt in my inbox, in my subscription box this morning. So I checked out Emma's video because I was curious, and then I thought this sounds really cool. I don't really have a plan for my reading for this month yet, apart from the Gilmore Girls readathon, so I'm gonna do this. And the idea for this video is that it's kind of a TBR and wrap-up video all rolled into one, because the idea for the readathon is that you get a prompt, you read the book, and based on what you thought of the first book, you get to the next prompt. So you choose a path based on your experiences with the book you read before. So that means that you aren't able to set a TBR beforehand, but you choose your TBR as the month progresses, which I think sounds really cool. So I decided that I'm going to kind of vlog that experience. So for the first door and the first prompt, I chose Emma's video, and she gave the prompt 5. That's it. It's up for interpretation, you can do whatever you want with it, and I decided to go for a 5-star prediction, and for that I decided to read Record of a Spaceborn Few by Becky Chambers. This is the third book in the Wayfarers trilogy, and I absolutely adored the first 2 books. I think I gave both of them 5 stars. So I think it's reasonable to say that I'll probably give this one 5 stars as well, but we'll see. It's about the Exodus fleet centuries after the last humans left Earth. So now I'm going to sit on the sofa and read this. I'm very excited about it, and I will get back to you once I finish this. It's now the 6th of November, it's just after 9 AM, and if I look tired, that's because I am. So let's just not focus on that. But last night I finished Record of a Spaceborn Few. I almost forgot the title there for a second. Record of a Spaceborn Few by Becky Chambers, and as I predicted, this was a 5-star read for me, so that's exciting. In a minute I'm going to see what that means for the readathon and what path I shall be taking through the doors, but first I want to give you a quick overview of my thoughts. I haven't filmed a wrap-up style video in a while, so let's see how this goes. I tend to ramble on for a while, but I really want to keep this short. Like I said, this is the third book in the Wayfarers series. They are actually companion novels, so this book focuses on a whole new set of characters than the other 2 books did. And when I first found out about that after reading the first book, I was a bit bummed because I really loved those characters and I wanted to see what they would get up next. But I'm actually really liking this because the world of these books, these are sci-fi novels, their world is so expansive and so rich that I really want to get to know every nook and cranny of it, and this focuses on a whole new side of it than the other 2 books did. This book is set on the fleet, the Exodus fleet that left Earth centuries ago. I think they were the last people to leave Earth after humanity destroyed it, basically. And they did so in a fleet of homesteaders, of big ships that could house lots of people, and they went into space to live there. And throughout the centuries they met other sapient life forms, they met aliens, and they entered the Galactic Commons, which is a huge union of all of these different peoples and different planets. But these humans still live on these same huge spaceships they left Earth with all those decades ago, centuries ago. Lots of people have left the ships and went planetside and built lives of their own there and families of their own and have lived there for generations, but there are still many people living on the ships as well. And this book focuses on the people living in the fleet. And there are a bunch of different perspectives in this book. You follow an older person who's lived there for her entire life. You follow a young person who really doesn't want to be there, who wants to leave, and then a couple of other people in between those ages, I guess. And that way you really get a sense of what it's like living on the fleet, and I really enjoyed that. What I love most about Becky Chambers' books is that she is so good at characterization, at developing complex characters, and she's amazing at looking at culture. These cultures she has thought of on her own, but which seem so rich and complex, just like any other real culture. These stories are so intelligent and they explore the complexity of humanity so incredibly well, both the beautiful and the ugly. And she does so in a very loving way, almost. These books are full of diversity, and the inclusivity many of us would like to see in our world today is actually there in lots of these cultures in these books, and it's so wonderful to read about. So these books are definitely also comfort reads for me, even though they also make me think a lot. Technically, you could read these books out of order because they are companion novels and not a series, but I definitely highly recommend you read them in order, because that way you get the context and you are already kind of invested, hopefully, and you want to know about this fleet because you've read about it in the other two books, but it's remained a bit of a mystery in those books. At least for me, that was the case. So all in all, wonderful book. I loved reading this, and I found out this week that there is actually a fourth book in the series forthcoming. I think it will be published in February 2021, so that's very exciting. I thought this was the last book I was going to read in this series. Also, it has another beautiful cover, just like this. These books might be the most beautiful books I have on my shelves, to be honest. But yeah, a 5-star prediction that came true. So that means I can now pick another book, and I have no idea yet what that's going to be, because I still have to watch the video. First Emma's video, so she can point me in a new direction, and then the video I'm going to have to choose on Emma's video to see the new door and see what my next prompt is going to be. I don't think that made any sense, but I've got my phone here and I'm now going to watch the video.
Hopefully you're done with your book now, so I want to know what you thought of it. What star rating would you give it out of 5? And on the next end screen, you're going to see 4 doors. Click the one that best represents the star rating that you gave this book, or if you didn't have the book, you will see a door for that too. Off you go on your quest.
I have to choose the next door based on my star rating, and I gave the book 5 stars, so I'm going for the first door, which is 4 or 5 stars. Here we go.
Welcome to
Ooh, it's Meg.
So, the meme for this prompt is I'm back! I think this is a really easy prompt. I think I've been really kind to you here. I think there's a lot of ways you can interpret it, and it's very easy to interpret.
Okay, so all of Meg's prompts are based on memes, which is hilarious to me. And this meme is basically a woman opening a door and saying, "I'm back." I immediately thought of reading a sequel, which is also what Meg suggested, but I'm going to have a look at my shelves and see if I can find anything else, because I have one book in mind that I really want to read, but I just want to take a quick look to see if I can find anything else that fits this prompt. Okay, so I have 2 options. The first one is the one I thought of immediately, which is Wondersmith by Jessica Townsend. This is the second book in the Nevermore series, but I also still want to read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. For this, I'm not really sure how well the prompt fits, because I don't know all that much about this book, so it can be difficult to kind of try and fit the prompt before reading it, which is the point. But I kind of had to think of Rebecca, the other woman, the dead wife, because this book is about a woman who marries a handsome widower, and then when she goes back to his glamorous house, she finds him a changed man, and the memory of his dead wife Rebecca is forever kept alive by the forbidding housekeeper, Mrs. Danvers. But I think you could interpret the "I'm back" as Rebecca, the other woman, the dead wife. Is she gonna be a ghost? I have no idea. So anyway, now I have to choose between these 2 books. This one I really want to read because it seems like such a fun book. This one I kind of wanted to get to in October, but I didn't have the time because the Netflix film has just come out. So I do want to read this one. Oh, I really don't know. I think I'm gonna go for Rebecca, because Wondersmith seems like the kind of book that is also fun to read around Christmas. So I'll definitely get to this before the end of the year. So then I can now read Rebecca and, I don't know, hopefully enjoy it. So yes, this one for my second prompt, and I'll get back to you when I finish this. Hi, it's now Saturday, November 14th, and I have just finished reading Rebecca. I am sitting in front of my window and people are walking by, so I'm feeling a little self-conscious filming here, but I'm just going to go with it. I just finished Rebecca, like I said, and it took me a little longer than I had hoped, because I'd hoped to finish another book before now. But I don't really mind, because I really loved this. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this, and even though it took me longer than I wanted, I also feel like I kind of flew through it in a weird way, because whenever I did sit down to read this book, I really read it pretty quickly. I read the chapters pretty quickly because I wanted to keep on reading. It was really a page turner, which is quite special, I think, for a book from the, I think it's the 30s? I'm not entirely sure. When was this written? Yes, 1938. It was first published. But I read something by Daphne du Maurier before. It was a short story, I think, or a novella called The Breakthrough. That was the first time I encountered her writing, and I was already kind of blown away by it then, because it's just so gripping and fast moving, but also lush and atmospheric, and it's kind of unlike anything else I've read, and it feels so effortless. So yes, I really enjoyed that. I really want to read more by Daphne du Maurier now. I enjoyed the atmospheric writing style the most, I think. I think that was the thing I loved most about this book, but I really enjoyed the plot as well. It felt quite original in how that everything revolves around this dead woman, and you get intrigued and kind of obsessed by her along with the narrator. I didn't give this the full 5 stars, and I think that has to do with the fact that I did find the narrator kind of annoying. She's kind of naive and very shy, and I get that. And I also think that that was kind of the point, her being shy and demure. But because she was the narrator, it did hamper my enjoyment of the book just the tiniest bit. But in any case, I love this book. I'm so glad I've now finally read it. I hope to watch the film on Netflix soon. And I'd also say that if you're looking to get into classics, into reading classics, but you're a little bit intimidated by them and you find them hard to get through sometimes, this is a good place to start. It's not that old. I mean, it's not like Bronte or Austen. It was only last century, but it does have the feel of a classic. It's a gothic novel. And yeah, I think this is a good starting point. So that's that for Rebecca. This means I can now open a new door, but there's a bit of a complication because tomorrow is the 15th of November, and that means that the Gilmore Girls Readathon is starting. I'm participating in the Gilmore Girls Readathon. I have a set TBR of 3 books I want to read for that. That could mean that I'm going to be taking a bit of a break from the 1000 Doors Readathon, because if I now get a prompt that doesn't fit any of the books on my TBR, I will be taking a break. And I'll continue with the 1000 Doors Readathon after the Gilmore Girls Readathon. But before I can make any decisions about that, I will have to watch the next video for the 1000 Doors Readathon, so I think I've got it lined up.
Bookmark this video so you can come back to it once you've read it, and once you have, you want to see an end screen asking you if you guessed where this book was going. See you in a bit.
So the question I have to answer to go to the next door is, did you guess where this book was going? So did I guess the end of Rebecca? And honestly, I can't really remember if I guessed it. I think I don't want to give any spoilers, so I'm not going to talk about the reveal or the main plot point of this. And I think it went through my mind. I think I considered it to be a possibility, but I don't think I really guessed it. It wasn't on my mind as I was reading it. I didn't think this is definitely what's going to happen. I wasn't really surprised, but I also didn't guess it. So I'm gonna go for no.
You are smashing this. Oh my
Tasman.
god. So far, you have got the most positive response out of all of the paths. I hope you're having a great time so far.
I
I
am.
certainly am. My third prompt for you is a book that feels like Marvel.
So I got Tasman, which is fun. Now I've had all 3 of the main hosts for the readathon, a prompt by them, I should say, and her new prompt is a book that feels like Marvel. And I think I can definitely fit one of the books on my TBR for the Gilmore Girls Readathon for that. I think I'm going to go for this one, which is a graphic novel, Fables, Storybook Love, it's called. It's the 3rd volume in the... That's 2. It's the 3rd volume in the Fables series. Just the fact that this is a graphic novel or a comic is already kind of related to Marvel, because Marvel is also all about comics, of course, and films, but it all started with the comics. So there's that, but also this features fantasy type characters. It features not really superheroes, but the main characters from fairy tales and fables. Of course, a lot of the characters, or maybe not a lot, but some of the characters from the Marvel universe are based on fables and mythology as well, like Thor and Loki. So this would definitely fit, and I will talk to you when I finished Fables. So it's now Thursday, November 19th, and since I last spoke to you, I finished 2 books, but only one of those was for the 1000 Doors Readathon, which was of course Fables. I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I did the second volume, but the first volume is still my favorite, I think. I haven't seen this around on BookTube a lot, even though it's really good and I think a lot of people would like it. This is about a group of fairy tale characters and fable characters who used to live in the fantasy worlds that we know them from, but then an adversary, I'm not sure, came in and forced them to flee from the lands and into our real world. And then they set up shop, or home basically, in New York mostly. And the main characters are Bigby Wolf and Snow White, and there is Prince Charming, who's a bit of a douchebag in this, which is very funny, and Sleeping Beauty, Rose Red. They're all here, and they have to navigate our world while also remaining a secret from the Mundies, as they call the regular people. It's all a bit more grim and a bit more gritty than we're used to from fairy tales. And I enjoyed it a lot. I always love seeing fairy tale characters in a different setting and seeing what a modern setting does to them and what writers and creators do with that setting for these characters. I am not the biggest fan of the art style. It is a bit old-fashioned, but it is also quite creative in terms of how the panels are often created. They're not just always just the boxes right next to each other telling the story in such a boring, bland way. They usually do something fun with it that makes it fit the vibe and the mood and atmosphere of the story that's being told on that particular page, which I really like. So yeah, 3.5 stars for this. But that means I can now also go through the next door. I do already know what I'm reading next. I actually just read the first page or so from The Astonishing Color of After. I'm reading this for the Gilmore Girls Readathon, but I'm going to see if the next prompt fits this book.
You are just having the best
Ooh,
luck
it's Emma
with this
again.
readathon. So you liked your last character. Let's see if this next book goes as well for you. Your next prompt is up.
Okay, so I ended up with Emma again, which is fun, and the prompt she gave me is up. And as is the case with all of these prompts, they're really up for interpretation. You can do what you want with them, but I think I can easily fit The Astonishing Color of After in this, because this is about a girl whose mother has committed suicide and she believes that her mother has turned into a bird. So I immediately thought of the bird up in the sky, and I think the bird also accompanies Lee, the main character, on her travels to Taiwan to meet her grandparents for the first time. So I definitely think that fits. It's Sunday the 22nd of November, and this morning I finished The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. I ended up giving this 3 stars. I have to say I was a bit disappointed by this, and I already noticed this after about 2 chapters. And these are very short chapters, so I think after about 10 pages I knew that this probably wasn't going to be the book for me. At first that mostly had to do with the writing style, because we see the book through the eyes of the main character Lee, and she uses a lot of colors in her descriptions. She describes that she feels panic, and then she goes on to describe in what color she feels panic. And if this happened occasionally, I think I would be fine with it. I would think it to be a good addition to the storytelling, because Lee is an art lover. She's a very talented artist herself, and she draws all the time, so that would fit, and in a sense that does fit, but to me it took me out of the story a lot because it happens on almost every page, or at least a few times each chapter. The other thing I didn't like was the romantic subplot. It just felt completely unnecessary because we're dealing with this story of grief. There's a big aspect of depression in this book because Lee's mother kills herself because of her depression, and this romantic subplot just kind of felt like something that was thrown in to make it easier to sell. It didn't feel necessary. I wanted to know more about Lee, about her mother, about her culture, her grandparents, everything, but a big part of the story was taken up by this romance. I just didn't think that was necessary, and I also think it made the story less enjoyable for me. But because I do think that Lee wasn't a very well-rounded character. Her main personality trait is that she loves to draw and that she wants to be an artist, but other than that, we don't really know that much about her. There aren't any clear defining features, even though she's the one telling the story. And the same is true for her mother, who I think was the most interesting character in the book. We know she came from Taiwan to America, and we know that she is a very good pianist. and we know that she suffers from depression. But I was never fully invested, and I really didn't expect that to happen, because depression is something that hits very close to home for me, and I thought that this was going to be a heartbreaking but very beautiful story. And it was very beautiful at some points, but overall it was just a bit disappointing. The things I did enjoy, however, were the Taiwanese and Chinese culture. I loved getting to know more about that. I loved all the descriptions of the food. They were an important part of the story as well. I did like the magical realism bits of the story, although I do think they could have been done better. There was more potential for them to really shine. And the exploration of grief and depression was what made this story worthwhile for me. So yeah, 3 stars to this book, which means that I've now finished the 4th book and the 4th door, which means that I can move on to the 5th door. So I've got my phone here again, and I'm going to watch the video for the final door, because this will be the last book I'll be reading for the readathon.
So what I want to know next is if you liked the setting of this book.
Okay, so the final question I have to answer to get to the last door of the readathon is whether or not I like the setting of the book. And like I said, the culture and Taiwan and learning more about that was one of my favorite parts of this book. So the answer should definitely be yes. So let's see where we end up.
So
I'm with Meg again.
Door 5, the last prompt we're going to be having, and the meme for this prompt is.
And I immediately scratch my head and I wonder, where's God when you need him?
So I think for this you should pick a book which is going to make you cry or feel very sad.
So Meg is behind this door again, so that's another meme. And it's a meme of Paula Abdul saying something like, and it got me thinking, where is God in all this? I really don't know what to do with that. Okay, I found my book, and I'm gonna go for Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. This is a book that's been on my TBR for a very long time, and I think it features religion quite a bit, because it's also quite an old book. This page has a tear in it. I did not know that when I bought it. Anyway, this book was published in 1908, so that's quite a long time ago. I think, if I remember correctly from other people's videos and things like that, that Anne is quite a religious girl. I also think that her story is quite sad at the beginning. I believe she's an orphan that ends up with a family that doesn't really want her. So there's the whole aspect of, is God even watching? Is he even caring for me? I was not expecting to read this month, but I'm excited to finally get to it. So I will see you again when I have finished the last book for the readathon. So it's now December 6th, so things didn't go entirely according to plan, since the idea was to finish this before the end of November. But I didn't. I ended up finishing this yesterday morning, but I still wanted to give you my review of this, because that's what this video is about after all. I ended up giving Anne of Green Gables 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy this, but I didn't love it as much as I hoped I would, because so many people seem to really love this book, but I think a lot of people also read this during their childhood, so there's a sense of nostalgia that goes along with it that I don't have, because this was a first time read for me. I am really looking forward to watching the Netflix adaptation, Anne with an E, because I've been wanting to watch that for a while, but I really wanted to read the book first. And after reading this, I think they can make it really good, because there's so many beautiful descriptions of Green Gables and the landscape around it that make me very excited about seeing it on the screen. This was also less sad than I'd expected, which is good, because for some reason I had the idea that Anne wouldn't be treated very well by the brother and sister who adopted her, Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert, but they were very sweet people and I really liked them a lot. And I liked Anne as well, but I didn't fall in love with her as some people seem to do. I don't really have much more to say about this actually, because it's just a fun story. It's a good read, it's a comforting read, and that was very nice. But other than that, I liked it. It was okay. I'm not sure if I'm going to read the other 6 books in the series, because that's a lot, and I've heard not all of them are equally good. But who knows what 2021 will bring. Maybe I'll feel the sudden urge to read all of these books. I'm just very glad that I've read it now, because it was sweet, it was cute. And I just want to say I had such a good time with this readathon. I really liked that it was really a chill readathon, that it was okay to DNF books and that you could still go through another door. Not that I often DNF books, but liked that that was an option, and everything was just so positive, or maybe that's because I liked all of the books I read, but it just seemed like a very positive, fun, easygoing readathon that's fun for everyone. So I really want to thank the hosts, Emma, Tasmin and Meg. If you're watching this, thank you for hosting this fun readathon. I'd love to participate again in the future. And that means that we've now officially reached the end of this video. I have no idea how long this is going to be. Hopefully I'll be able to edit it to an acceptable length. But if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment down below telling me what your favorite book of November was. And please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos in the future. And have a wonderful day. Bye!